Well, hello guys, for the first time from here inside the Suwon World Cup Stadium. And yeah, you saw me last week in Singapore finish the video with a sweat on my brow. I think it could be the same again here. Yeah, the temperatures here tonight, well, it makes most UK greenhouses feel like an igloo. And there was even government warnings pinging on our phone halfway through the game. Nothing to do with the tsunami in nearby Japan and other areas of Asia, no, a heat warning. So there is, to that end, massive mitigation for those on the pitch because it wasn't great. Newcastle were beaten 1-0 by the K-League All-Stars. We'll talk about the game, but it's been another incredibly newsy day in the world of Newcastle United. Now, on the face of it, some of the news I'm about to bring you might not feel like good news, but the consequence of it might just be down the line. My day also included a 2-hour taxi journey from Seoul down here, which I'd mistakenly thought was a half an hour hop. Yeah, at one point I was in danger of missing the game, which on reflection, I probably wouldn't have missed much really. Jumped out of a taxi and had an appointment with a certain radio station and walked straight into a row live on air with Simon Jordan. Yeah, just quickly on that, Jordan calls what we do in the media nonsense, just all noise really, that we spin narratives. Well, as I went back at Simon, and again, got an awful lot of time for Simon, all the time in the world from him. He's a really erudite guy, brilliant broadcaster, great show, but he does spend a lot of his time on that show talking about stories which are broken by journalists. So to sit there and to do that day after day, it feels like a real blind spot of his if he then calls everything we do nonsense. It's like one of your kids sitting playing with a PlayStation or an Xbox all day on Christmas Day and turning around to you and saying, "Mind you, Dad, Santa's a bit of a prick." So yeah, there you go. I'm getting distracted, but it was a really lively chat we had, and you can guess the subject we were exploring. Alexander Isak, funny enough, yeah, that was a story broken by a journalist, wasn't it? So there you go. But no, what is the latest on Isak? Well, I've just asked Eddie Howe downstairs. There has a offer come for Isak today. He said no, not that he is aware. But again, all of my information is that is due. I think there could be movement on that this week. But the big breaking news I can bring you tonight is twofold. And first of all, it concerns Benjamin Sesko. Now, Newcastle are really pushing as their top two targets for Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig and Johan Wissa. This was the video I did yesterday. And if you can get those two players with at least 1 foot in the door, I think that then opens the door at the other end of the room for Alexander Isak to walk out of. If they don't, if they can't bring in the players they want in the need, Alexander Isak will probably and should definitely be told, "You're going nowhere, pal. You can honour that contract. You can come back in and train with the group." But this is the development I've got. I got word tonight during the game, actually, that the feeling, this was something that was brewing earlier in the day as well, the feeling internally at Newcastle is that Sesko is more likely to go to Manchester United. Now, that you guys, on the face of it now, will feel like bad news. I know it will, because Benjamin Sesko was that big ticket player they've tracked, the one who could have been, in theory, the replacement for Isak, a player who could come in and take the number 9 jersey. They've looked at him for the best part of 2 or 3 years now. They've worked really hard on him in the past couple of weeks. They're really sweet on Benjamin Sesko, and they still are in there. They still are fighting. Benjamin Sesko hasn't decided on his future, but my information is that there is a feeling that Manchester United might just be the player's preferred destination. Let us hope that isn't the case. But then, because Newcastle do want him and Newcastle do like him, and I think he would be a fantastic signing. The flip of all of that is, and this is why I say it might not be the worst news, if they can't get Sesko and they can't get that big ticket player, that number 9 to come in, well, then they won't sell Alexander Isak. It's got to be on Newcastle's terms. This has been a consistent message on and off the record from Eddie Howe and those above him. So to that end, I think tonight's development increases the odds of Alexander Isak being told he's got to stay at Newcastle this summer. Now, what else do we know on strikers? This is a new name I've brought you tonight exclusively at Mail Plus. Rodrigo Muniz at Fulham. There's a guy drilling over there which beats my pal on the lawnmower at Whitley Park, doesn't it? Yeah, Rodrigo Muniz Rodrigo Muniz at Fulham. Now, nothing major. It's no high-level talks as of now, but my information today is that contact has been made at an intermediary level, and a fee deal of around £40 million has been mooted. It's an option. I've had it confirmed that he is on the shortlist, but so are other names. Johan Wissa still really pushing to get that deal done. Nicholas Jackson is on the list, but I think all of the others I've mentioned, I think there's quite a few who are ahead of him. again, we'll talk about flip sides of developments. If, just walking through a gate, not riveting content, but yeah, I just walked through a gate. Anyway, Newcastle, Ollie Watkins. Now, Ollie Watkins has been a supposed target of Manchester United this summer. Aston Villa's message is that they don't want to sell, but he's on Newcastle's list. And if Sesko and Manchester United does move along, does that then open the door for Newcastle and Ollie Watkins? We'll have to wait and see on that. But another player who is absolutely in their thoughts with regards, not just a potential replacement for Alexander Isak, but they wanted strikers anyway. They wanted to bring in a big, brilliant replacement for Callum Wilson. Forget Alexander Isak, they still need one to bring up the shortfall. Because at the moment, in effect, they've only got one striker. If Isak has mentally checked out and Wilson has physically checked out, he's gone. They've only got Willisula. And this brings us onto the match here tonight. So Willisula played through the middle there, and I don't want to be harsh, but I want to be honest. He's not the answer. I think we knew that before we came out here, but the more you see of him, the more you realise that's the case. He needs work. I'm not, again, I want to be fair, because he gives his lot. And there's one or two little moments there. Again, he got across his man with a header there, didn't quite come off for him. But in all my years watching and playing football, everything else, I'm not convinced Willisula will ever be at that level where he is the number one or the number two for Newcastle. Is it worth another year pursuing it as a number three? Well, yeah, because I'd back those coaches to always bring about maximum improvement in any player. How much improvement is there in Willisula? Well, after a year, I don't think he's gone from 3 to 2. I think he still looks very much like a number 3 who needs work. On the game as a whole, how was it for Newcastle? It wasn't great. I think I used that phrase at the top there, didn't I? I'm not going to deviate from that. Before the match, Eddie Howe was out taking a walk around. He was stamping on the pitch. The pitch wasn't good. It's like a patchwork quilt of scorched, parched grass, really. There was one or two scary moments. Livramento went down early, and then I can't believe we've got to this point without mentioning it. I should have had this as a news flash at the top. Joe Willock went down at the very end with what looked really concerning, put his arm in the air, clutching his Achilles, stretchered off. I've got good news on that. Spoken to Eddie Howe, says he doesn't think it's a major injury, but then we were talking to some of Willock's teammates in the mix zone there as they walked out, and they're saying that Joe looks okay, which let's hope that's the case, because goodness, Eddie Howe used the word, Joe's suffered enough now with injury, and not just in terms of, you know, the person, the human being involved there, and the importance of him as a player. If Newcastle were to lose Joe Willock for a period of time, if it was a recurrence of that Achilles injury, given Sean Longstaff left the club a couple of weeks ago, that would have them down to 4 midfielders, one of whom is Louis Miley. I think the world of Louis Miley, by the way, put a lovely ball through there tonight, a good player, but he still is a teenager. It would leave them with only probably what you'd call three established senior midfielders, even though they're hoping Miley matures into that this season. So fingers crossed Willock's injury isn't too bad. He needed an injury-free pre-season. On that, Sven Botman walked through the mix zone there, past us all smiles, seems like he is okay. He'll stay with the squad for the remainder of the trip here. Again, the news on Botman's injury is positive, you know, should be okay for the start of the season. But little injuries, you know, we've spoken about this not being an ideal pre-season. Goodness, that's a bit of an understatement. The big piece I wrote in the Mail today, description in the link below the line, was all about the turbulence and where are PIF, you know, they need actions, they need words, they need everything. Go and click on that real in-depth piece in terms of where the club is at right now. And tonight, performance that wasn't great, another defeat without scoring a goal, another injury concern. It just felt like that negative narrative, if you like, just continues. But there was huge mitigation. And this was a question I asked of Eddie Howe afterwards. I said, you know, where are you at in terms of looking at the pitch, looking at the heat, the fact that there is a lot of travelling, there is a little bit of jet lag, coupled with, on the other side of it, another defeat, another game without scoring a goal, connections not really coming off. Where are you at? And he said, well, no, it is important to remember that it's only pre-season. The only focus really is Aston Villa 2 weeks on Saturday. And I get that, so I'm not going to overanalyse tonight, but I will analyse it. You know, that's what I'm here for. I'm not just going to say, close your eyes, move on to the next one. No, so in terms of performances, what did I think? Well, I thought Anthony Elanga was sharp, certainly early on. But what isn't sharp is his connection with other players. A couple of times he played really good first-time passes, pinging it and moving, but other players teammates were flat-footed. So that needs to work there. The one connection he arrived at the club having already had There's a fella, his international teammate, Alexander Isak, who's back at home on Tyneside and doesn't want to play for the club again. So don't spin a headline out of that. He wants to move elsewhere. Should I cut that out? No, I'm just relying on you to be sensible about that. He wants to move elsewhere. Does he not want to play for the club again? No, that is Johan Wissa down at Brentford who was sending that message. But you get what I mean about Alexander Isak. Anthony Langer came in and we thought, yeah, brilliant, these two are going to spark off each other. That still might be the case. It might have to be the case if Newcastle can't bring in the players they want. But as of now, Isak isn't here and Alanga's having to try and form a relationship with Willock. Didn't really happen there. Anthony Gordon on the other side. I thought Gordon did better tonight. Again, he's a player, need a big season. If Isak isn't there, Anthony Gordon's got to step up and do what he did 2 seasons ago. And I think he just might. I really hope he is free of some of that mental clutter that he carried last season. I think the world of Anthony Gordon. I thought he looked sharper at times there tonight. But generally, on the whole, as a team, it didn't really work. They conceded a bit of a bad goal, really. I thought the K-League side could have had more in that first half. Just too much space and cut through Newcastle's midfield and then scored the goal, chopping inside Jamal Lascelles. A decent enough finish, to be fair, in the end. Second half, Newcastle were better. Did they deserve a 1-1 draw? Probably, but I wouldn't say that with a great deal of conviction. So let's draw a line under this. Wasn't entertaining. No, the game in Singapore on Sunday against Arsenal was fabulous. I really enjoyed that. Didn't really take a massive amount from that tonight. And the bigger news was what was happening elsewhere on my phone, the calls and the texts I was getting with regards to transfer business. So just to recap on that. Sesko, I was going to say it's 50-50. It's not. It's probably slightly in favour of Manchester United now, but they still are in there, and there will probably no doubt be a late push, a late plea to get him to choose Newcastle. They're presenting their package to the Slovenian, and I, for one, I would like to see that come off. I think that is super exciting. Johan Wissa still pushing. Munez is an option, Jackson's an option, Watkins is an option too, but certainly those two, Sesko and Wissa, have been the priority this week. Loads more to come, guys. Are we being chased? No, we're not. Makes a change. I've just got nothing else left to talk about, so I'm going to pack up, and I've just realised I've still got that 2-hour journey back up into Central Seoul there. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Have a scan of this place. Lovely stadium. It was the venue where Republic of Ireland went out in the 2002 World Cup, beaten on penalties by Spain. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching the last few days. Loads and loads more to come. Hit like, comment, subscribe. I'll get back to as many as I possibly can. Even I'm off somewhere now to cool down and find, a cool beer. That might just help. Have a look at this clip from last night, by the way. I wasn't sat there drinking all these beers. It was just for climate control. Okay, there you go. I'm going to program my Uber for that exact bar once again. By then, you'll have my video. It'll be live. Enjoy it, guys, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.